I've decided to do my oral presentation on environmental ethics. I will begin with a brief discussion on what this is. This considers extending the traditional views on ethics and uses them to shed light on the relationship between humans, their surroundings, and other non-human living things. Many individuals think under this belief that things should be given ethical worth because they exist. This idea of environmental ethics gets extended into religious viewpoints, as many have agreed that the right for the environment to exist should be weighed upon by the view that it is valuable in itself to exist. On the other side of the spectrum, many believe that non-humanistic things such as animals exist and also deserve a valuable ethical worth. An example on this is many people are afraid of insects, but to be honest, what have insects done to humans? They're on the other side of the spectrum and have been living their lives and have been thriving and flourishing, growing up, but as humans have become more and more afraid of them, they've ended these individuals' lives. Many people believe that humans continue to slaughter animals for their own convenience of surviving. But after reading various articles related to environmental ethics, many activists believe that it is not necessary to slaughter animals to continue their own existence. One of the first topics that I believe is important to environmental ethics is the idea of deep ecology. When I began researching environmental ethics, I found that an underlying topic of the philosophy has been seen through deep ecology. This idea of philosophy is the idea that individuals should promote or stop degrading the worth of all living things regardless of how much they contribute to their surroundings. Furthermore, things should not be judged based on their usefulness to human needs. This ties in hand with my example earlier with ants trying to contribute to society. When you think about it, yes, they don't really contribute to human society, but in the breakdown of the ecological system, they do have some part in making sure the world stays as it has been for many years. One of the underlying principles of deep ecology is that all things included under the vast umbrella of the living environment should be respected and should undoubtedly be given the right to continue living and flourishing. The foundation of the environmental ethics and its relation to deep ecology began in the 1970s when the philosopher Nuss began the shallow ecology movement. This was his initial fight against pollution and resource depletion. Up until the past couple of decades, the idea of resource depletion and the fight against pollution hadn't really began to pick up steam. But as environmental activists began to do more and more research, they believe that with the rate that we're using resources and the amount of pollution being put into the environment, humans are at great risk of hurting the environment around them. As his idea of protecting the environment rapidly progressed, this is when the deep ecology movement was born. Since then, the idea of all things having equal ethical worth has declined slightly, and in the 1980s, you really began to see the deep ecology movement adjust its main viewpoints, and now it lessens its fight against the environmental breakdown and believes that humans and animals have value in themselves in their own separate rights. Another topic I wanted to discuss in relation to environmental ethics was the idea that Pope Francis had when he visited Latin America and his viewpoint on how humans, not necessarily related to the environment, but their interaction between one another. And the point I wanted to focus on was Pope Francis's specific view on poverty in underdeveloped countries in Latin America. When Pope Francis had issued his encyclical on the environment, he showed that the way that he felt in regards to the economy and the way people were treated in underdeveloped countries was not right in relation to the leaders distributing the wealth equally amongst their countries. He believed that countries ravished by poverty are having tough times due to poor leadership. And after his encyclical was released, many individuals thought that they could use what he had wrote to help take away some of the economic um, inequality that has widened throughout these underdeveloped countries. Such countries as in Honduras and Guatemala, leaders were caught embezzling money that they were supposed to be distributing to underdeveloped, poor areas within the countries, and instead keeping it for themselves. This ties in with an idea I had discussed earlier, the idea that people's worth should not be valued on how much they contribute to society, but everyone's worth should be equal because we are all living things. This goes to show that even though people in underdeveloped countries may not contribute to the growth of that country more and more than what the higher populations in developed countries like America may contribute to society, but since the idea of a living thing is valued equally, that's how I have tied in the Latin American trip that Pope Francis made to environmental ethics. In conclusion, after I have explained these variety of topics related to the different spectrums within environmental ethics, I have found that I agree with the various ideas proposed by individuals such as Pope Francis and Ness. When these individuals decided that they began their fight against the environment's destruction by humans, I found that when individuals have progressed throughout the times before when they did not care whatsoever about resource depletion, and up until the past decade or so when that has become a very hot topic in the light, especially related to up and coming political campaigns.